3 days before my younger sister's $80,000 dream wedding, an event I had spent the last 8 months meticulously planning and, more importantly, largely financing out of my own pocket. My mother invited me over to her house for coffee. I walked through her front door, expecting to discuss last-minute seating chart emergencies or to finalize the timeline for the bridal party's hair and makeup. Instead, she sat me down at the kitchen table, took a slow sip of her vanilla latte, and casually delivered a sentence that would permanently destroy our family. "You're not going to be a bridesmaid anymore, Emma," she said, her voice entirely devoid of emotion. "Actually, your sister and I have talked about it, and we think it's best if you just don't attend the wedding at all." I froze. The room suddenly felt entirely devoid of oxygen. I stared at my mother, waiting for the punchline, waiting for her to laugh and tell me she was just relieving the incredible stress I'd been under. But her face remained a mask of polite indifference. "Excuse me?" I managed to choke out. "What do you mean I'm not attending? I paid for the venue. I paid for the catering. I've been running myself ragged since January." My mother sighed. The kind of exaggerated, put upon sigh a parent gives a petulant toddler. "Emma, please don't make this about money. You make a 6-figure salary. You can afford to help your family. This is about Chloe's big day. She's hired a professional videographer, and she has a very specific, cohesive aesthetic in mind for her wedding photos. Her bridal party consists of her sorority sisters who all fit a certain look. You've put on some weight recently, and frankly, you just don't fit the vibe. Chloe feels that having you stand up there next to her will ruin the aesthetic of the photos. And she feels that if you're in the audience, you'll just sit there looking miserable and ruin the energy of the room." I sat there in stunned, agonizing silence. My 24-year-old sister, Chloe, was the golden child. She had always been the golden child. I was 28, a senior software engineer at a major tech firm in Seattle. I worked 80-hour weeks, built a very comfortable life for myself, and had always been the reliable, responsible, utterly invisible older daughter. Chloe, on the other hand, was an aspiring social media influencer. She was stunningly beautiful, undeniably charismatic, and entirely allergic to hard work. Growing up, if Chloe wanted a designer prom dress, my parents would empty their savings. When I needed help with college tuition, I was told to take out student loans because it would build character. I spent my 20s grinding away to pay off my debt, while Chloe spent hers taking aesthetic trips to Tulum on our parents' credit cards. Despite the blatant favoritism, I loved my family. I always craved my parents' approval. So, when Chloe got engaged to Brad, a genuinely nice guy who worked in finance, and my parents tearfully admitted they had zero retirement savings and couldn't afford to give Chloe the wedding of her dreams, I stepped up. The guilt trips were relentless. "She's your only sister, Emma. Family is everything. You have so much. Why can't you share?" Like an idiot, I caved. I agreed to pay for the venue, the top-tier catering, and the florist. The total came to just over $65,000, with my parents supposedly covering the dress, the photographer, and the incidentals. Because I am a deeply type A personality and was fronting the cash, I insisted on handling the vendor contracts. Every single contract. The massive country club venue, the 5-star catering company, the premium floral arrangements was signed by me. My name, my credit card, my legal liability. And now, 72 hours before the first champagne cork was supposed to pop, I was being unceremoniously discarded because I didn't fit the Instagram aesthetic. "So," I said, my voice eerily calm as the shock began to recede, replaced by a cold, burning clarity. "Let me get this straight. I am not allowed at the wedding that I paid for because I am not pretty enough or skinny enough for Chloe's photos." "Oh, stop being so dramatic," my mother snapped, rolling her eyes. "You're acting like a victim. You should be happy to provide this for your sister. It's her one special day. Can't you just be selfless for once in your life? We'll send you an album of the photos." I didn't scream. I didn't cry. The overwhelming, desperate need for my mother's love that had dictated my entire life simply evaporated, leaving nothing but absolute, freezing apathy in its wake. I stood up, picked up my purse, and looked down at the woman who raised me. "Okay, Mom. Tell Chloe, I understand. I hope you all have exactly the wedding you deserve." I walked out of the house, got into my car, and drove home. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. It was a text from Chloe. "Mom said you took it well. Sorry, sis, it's just my aesthetic and my vision for the day. Love yous. We'll do brunch next month to make up for it." I stared at the text when I parked in my driveway. She actually thought she could humiliate me, steal $65,000 from me, exclude me from the most important day of her life, and smooth it over with a mimosa next month. I walked into my home office, opened my filing cabinet, and pulled out the massive, 3-inch thick white binder labeled Chloe's Wedding. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and took a deep breath. First, I called the country club. I asked to speak to the event coordinator, a lovely woman named Sarah, who I had been working closely with for months. "Hi, Sarah, it's Emma," I said. "Emma, hi, we are so excited for Saturday. What can I do for you?" "I need to cancel the event," I said smoothly. Effective immediately. There was a long pause. "Emma, cancel? The wedding is in 3 days. You will lose your entire deposit, and per the contract, there are no refunds for cancellations made within 2 weeks of the event." "I am completely aware of the financial penalties," I replied. "But as the sole signatory on the contract, I am exercising my right to cancel the reservation. No one is to be permitted on the grounds on Saturday. Please confirm that the cancellation is processed." Shocked, Sarah processed it and sent me the email confirmation. Next, I called the catering company. Same deal. No refund so close to the date. However, I wasn't just going to let $25,000 worth of gourmet food go to waste in a dumpster. Since I've already paid for the food, I told the catering manager I'd like to change the delivery address. I gave him the address of a massive women's and children's shelter in downtown Seattle that I frequently volunteered at. I told them to drop off the prime rib, the truffle mac and cheese, the hors d'oeuvres, and the 4-tier wedding cake there on Saturday afternoon. They happily agreed. Finally, I called the florist. I redirected $10,000 worth of imported white roses, peonies, and orchids to a local nursing home and a nearby veterans hospital, instructing them to pass out the arrangements to the residents. In the span of 45 minutes, I had dismantled a year of planning. I lost every single penny of the $65,000. It stung, certainly, but honestly, it was the best money I ever spent. It was the price of my freedom. I turned off my phone, packed a suitcase, and booked a first-class ticket to Maui. By 9 a.m. the next morning, I was sitting on a beach in Hawaii with a Mai Tai in my hand, completely disconnected from the absolute nuclear fallout that was about to hit Seattle. Update 1, the fallout. I kept my phone on airplane mode for 2 full days. I swam, I got a deep tissue massage, I ate incredible seafood. I let the poison of 28 years of family toxicity drain out of my system. On Saturday, what was supposed to be the wedding day, I finally connected my phone to the hotel Wi-Fi. My phone nearly crashed from the influx of notifications. I had 147 missed calls, over 300 text messages, and a dozen frantic voicemails. The timeline of the messages painted a beautiful picture of their escalating panic. The chaos started on Friday evening at 5 p.m., the time of the scheduled rehearsal dinner at the country club. Voicemail 1 Friday, 5:15 p.m. My mother, Emma, pick up the phone. The gates at the club are locked, and the security guard is telling us the event was canceled. There's obviously been a massive administrative error. Call Sarah right now and fix this. Voicemail 2 Friday, 6 p.m. Chloe, crying hysterically. EMA, where are you? They won't let us in. Sarah said you canceled the wedding. What the F did you do? Call me back right now. You jealous, bitter bitch. Fix this. Voicemail 3 Friday, 8:30 p.m. My father, screaming, Emma, you have completely destroyed your sister's life. You are dead to us. Do you hear me? Dead. We have over 100 guests flying in and nowhere to put them. You are going to pay for this. The texts from extended family members were a mix of confusion and outrage. Aunts and uncles, whom I hadn't spoken to in years, were calling me a monster, a sociopath, and a jealous spinster who couldn't stand to see her beautiful sister happy. My mother had obviously spun a narrative that I had suffered a psychotic break out of pure jealousy and deliberately ruined the wedding just to be cruel. I sat on my hotel balcony, watching the ocean waves crash against the shore, and typed out a single, mass response on Facebook, tagging my parents, Chloe, and all the extended family members who had bombarded my phone. Since my phone is blowing up, I want to clear the air about the cancellation of Chloe's wedding. On Wednesday, Mom and Chloe sat me down and informed me that I was no longer a bridesmaid, nor was I invited to attend the wedding. Their reasoning was that I am too overweight and do not fit the Instagram aesthetics Chloe wanted for her wedding photos, and my presence would ruin the vibe. As I was the sole financier of the venue, the catering, and the florals totaling over $65,000, I decided that I did not feel comfortable gifting such an astronomical sum of money to a party I was banned from attending. I canceled the vendor contracts. The food has been donated to a local women's shelter, and the flowers were sent to a nursing home. I have attached screenshots of my mother's texts confirming my uninvitation, Chloe's text telling me it was just about her aesthetic, and the vendor contracts bearing my name and my credit card. I will not be answering any questions. I am currently on vacation. Please direct all inquiries to the bride and her parents. I hit post, turned my phone off again, and went down to the pool. Update 2, the truth comes out. I stayed in Hawaii for a week. By the time I flew back to Seattle, the family dynamics had been completely pulverized. When my extended family saw the receipts, the undeniable proof that I had paid for everything and was kicked out purely for superficial, cruel reasons, the tide turned immediately. My aunts, who had cursed me out just days prior, were suddenly sending me apologies and turning their rage onto my parents. The sheer embarrassment of having to explain to 150 stranded wedding guests that there was no wedding because the bride had bullied the person paying for it was a humiliation my parents couldn't hide from. But the most spectacular fallout came from Brad, the groom. Brad, it turned out, had no idea about the financial arrangement. Chloe had lied to him, telling him our parents had taken out a second mortgage to pay for the wedding. He also had no idea that I had been disinvited. Chloe had told him on Wednesday that I had voluntarily stepped down from the bridal party because of a work emergency and couldn't make the wedding. When my Facebook post went live, Brad was sitting in a hotel room with his groomsmen, trying to figure out how to salvage the weekend. According to one of Brad's friends, who later messaged me, Brad read my post, saw the screenshots of Chloe's text about her aesthetic, and went completely pale. Brad is a very family-oriented, grounded guy. The realization that he was about to marry a woman so vain, so deeply superficial, and so cruelly manipulative that she would extort her own sister and discard her over Instagram photos broke the spell he was under. He confronted Chloe in front of our parents. Chloe, in typical golden child fashion, played the victim. She sobbed, screamed, and blamed me for ruining her life. She tried to justify it, saying it was her special day and she deserved perfection. Brad didn't argue. He just packed up his bags, took off his engagement ring, set it on the hotel nightstand, and said, "I can't marry you. I don't even know who you are." He and his family flew back to Chicago the next morning. The wedding wasn't just postponed, it was entirely called off. Update 3. 6 months later. It's been 6 months since the non-wedding. My parents tried to sue me in small claims court for emotional distress, and for the money they lost on Chloe's custom wedding dress and the photographer. The judge took one look at the case, realized there was no legal standing since I only canceled contracts in my own legal name, and threw the case out. He even gave my parents a brief, stern lecture about wasting the court's time. Chloe's social media influencer career has tanked. Brad's sister made a viral TikTok vaguely detailing the aesthetic bride who lost her groom, and the internet sleuths quickly connected the dots to Chloe. She got absolutely roasted in her comment sections and eventually had to set all her profiles to private. She currently works at a high-end retail boutique and lives in my parents' basement, endlessly complaining about how her life is unfair. My parents' reputation in our extended family is completely ruined. None of our aunts, uncles, or cousins speak to them anymore. They are isolated, financially strained, and stuck dealing with the monster they created. As for me, I blocked all of their phone numbers, emails, and social media accounts. I am completely no contact. I started going to therapy twice a week to work through the decades of emotional neglect and to learn how to set healthy boundaries. I got a promotion at work, and I recently bought a gorgeous little house in the suburbs with a massive backyard for the golden retriever puppy I just adopted. Losing $65,000 was a massive financial hit, but every time I look at my peaceful house, play with my dog, and realize I never have to endure another family holiday walking on eggshells to appease my sister, I smile. They wanted me out of the picture so they could have their perfect aesthetic. I happily obliged. And in the end, the picture they were left with was exactly the one they painted themselves.